Okay, let's count down my top 40 movies of 2024. That's right, 40 movies, because I have to say, while I don't think this was a great year for movies, I think it was a really deep year for movies. There was essentially something for everybody, and I'll also say this too, a really strong final couple months of the year. A lot of really good stuff, and a lot of good indie stuff as well that I want to talk about here. So yeah, can't spend too long setting this up. There's 40 movies to get into. Let's get into it. So let's go 5 movies at a time, just because, again, there's a lot of movies here. Also, it's going to go from right to left. I know that's a little confusing, but just formatting-wise, this is how I made add this list on my Letterboxd, which you can follow me on Letterboxd if you want. Jackson Kruger is my handle there, but that's how it formatted it. I didn't want to have to, manually fix all of it, so whatever. Our eyes will adjust to it. But yeah, let's get into it. I mean, some movies, I think these are all movies that I'm like, I respect what you went for here. Alien Romulus, I finally watched. I enjoyed. I think I get the criticisms of a lot of people feel as though it's a rehash of previous movies, and I don't disagree with those criticisms. I would still say that those things in the original movie worked for a reason, and it worked here. The choice to have a character, who played by an actor who has since passed away, be recast as an AI version of himself, not cool. Don't like that at all. Definitely not a fan, but still, movie that worked for me. So there you go. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, another one where nothing crazy, but just like a solid movie. I would say my biggest complaint about this one is it did kind of feel as though I watched like a part one, or I guess I should say like a pilot to another movie. I mean, it kind of ends on a cliffhanger. It's still, I feel like I got a full experience. I still enjoyed it, but it definitely, I don't love this idea of movies feel like they're trying to start a franchise. I prefer movies that are just trying to be a movie. Number 38, I'm Still Here. There are a few Best Picture nominees to not make my list. This one does make the list. It is, not too high on the list, but a movie I think I really respect. But my overall experience watching it was, I thought it was a little slow for me personally. So those are my thoughts. They're still a very well made movie, just not one that maybe was to my taste, I guess. But Orion in the Dark is the next one, a Charlie Kaufman written screenplay, although written by Charlie Kaufman, but then kind of was taken over. So how much Kaufman is there in there? Some, definitely some. You can feel it. Very interesting. Definitely kind of the middle 45 minutes. I really could take or leave, but the ending and the beginning is what makes it still worth watching. But couldn't put it too much higher on the list because of that. And then Conclave, again, just like a solid, well-made movie. I have so little things to say about Conclave. I think it's a good movie. I don't have that much more to say. I made a review on it, so I could, you can go back and watch that. That's pretty much all I have to say. Like, yeah, just a solid film. Next 5, some fun movies here. First, Strange Darling, which is a movie, I don't remember if I made a review on this channel or not. One I thought was very cool, very creative with the whole, story structure, and it did definitely fool me on some of the stuff. It also did kind of feel a bit like I don't know. It felt like it was maybe trying to do a bit too much in certain moments for me that didn't fully work, but still an enjoyable watch. Civil War, another one that like I still don't fully get what it was going for thematically. I have my interpretation of it. I don't know if that's the correct one. And then, as a whole, I wouldn't say scene by scene it's perfect, but the Jesse Plemons scene is worth the price of admission alone. That scene is awesome. Some great sequences, and I just kind of like a dystopian future movie, and I like Alex Garland. So, yeah, that one was cool. Baby Girl, another movie that I think I was expecting more of like a thriller going into it. I thought it was like going to be more of like an erotic thriller. That was not the case, so just know that going in. But again, I think an interesting film nonetheless. I certainly enjoyed it. I really like the setup of this one, but then I felt I kind of got it. Like I kind of understood where it was going like halfway through, and I felt like I was just kind of, it was a formality, the rest of it. But, it's still interesting. You know who you are. If that seems like your kind of thing, check it out. Hundreds of Beavers is that I don't know whose kind of thing that is. What an interesting experience it was. How do you even rank a movie like this on a chart? It is a movie that involves people in fursuits pretending to be beavers and a guy trying to capture them. It is a silent film. It is a bizarre film, but a very funny movie as well. So that definitely had to make the list at some point. And then Bird at 31, which was a really interesting one. Barry Keoghan's performance kind of just came and went, but I loved him in this movie. Really, I mean, at 31, it's a movie that I almost feel like I should put higher because I have thought about it a lot. But like I said, it's a deep year for movies. There's a lot of interesting stuff. But yeah, definitely one of those sort of slice of life films that I really appreciated. Next, 5. So we're gonna go with Queer at 30. Will not be the only Luca Guadagnino movie that we talk about today. Another one I really enjoyed. I think that I didn't fully get everything it was going for. I'll certainly say that. I haven't read the book. I almost feel like I maybe need to get everything it's going for. It is very, challenging. Is that the right word? Out there, maybe. I don't know. It's very unique, though. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. A very unique movie. Not a film I could say that I've seen too much like this year. The Apprentice at number 29. Listen, I'm not gonna get too into why I like this movie because I don't want to get everyone mad at me, or at least get some people mad at me. And it's kind of a hard movie to talk about without getting people mad at you. But I enjoyed the movie. I thought performances were incredible. Thought it was a well-made movie. Wallace and Gromit is at 28. Come on, it's Wallace and Gromit. How can you not love Wallace and Gromit? Again, just totally is what it is. Very entertaining. Love Lies Bleeding is another, I think, really fascinating one. I really liked Kristen Stewart in it. I thought I liked how the story unfolded in it. Yeah, again, just a kind of an enjoyable watch. The Substance, which I know is going to be a lot higher on other people's list. I get it. Again, my biggest critique of The Substance was just like, I didn't get why Demi Moore's character was, why she wanted a substance. That never fully made sense to me. I never understood why she didn't just cancel it. I needed more there for me personally. I didn't understand it. I totally would have understood, because again, from my understanding of watching the movie, it seemed like she wasn't actually experiencing the Margaret Qualley days. They were two different people at that point, although they were one, but I needed more explaining there for me personally. Loved pretty much everything else about the movie, though, so that's why it's still relatively high on the list at 26. Next 5, humanist vampire seeking consenting suicidal person. I meant to set this up at the beginning. This is a 2023 movie. You're going to see some of those in this list just because, okay, listen, I don't go to film festivals. This one might have even been in theaters or been available prior to 2024. I'm not sure. But if the first I'm aware of it and the first I see it is 2024, if the first time I can see it is in 2024, I'll put it on this list because we're here to talk about movies that came out recently, so what's the big deal if I throw a couple more in there that aren't technically 2024 movies. This is a really fun movie. This is definitely one that I would highly recommend you watch, and this is one you could really watch with anybody. It is sort of a story about vampire friendship, I guess you could say. Really funny. It's a French film and a really funny one, really charming one, so definitely highly recommend that one. Dune Part 2, again, what's there to be said that hasn't been said? This will be higher on some people's list, and I get it. It's a movie where if it's your kind of thing, it's very much your kind of thing. Next, we have Furiosa, which, again, it's interesting. Kind of the takeaway everyone had was, you can't recreate Mad Max Fury Road, so why even attempt it? Do something different, and the different thing was still very good. I won't lie. I wouldn't have minded seeing another attempt at Mad Max Fury Road. That is one of my favorite movies. In fact, I think right here I have the high octane thing. It was surprisingly cheap on Amazon, where you have the 4K of Fury Road on there. One of the best movies ever, or at least one of the best action movies ever, in my opinion. Furiosa, though, still a very fun watch. Really enjoyed the action scenes and still liked the other stuff too. Was never going to be Fury Road, but still very good. There's then Didi, which I think really does a great job at, kind of funny going from like Dune 2 and Furiosa to a small movie like this. But this one really charming as well, and really, I think, successfully captures that awkward stage you're in where when you're young, you're trying so hard to impress people, and you're lying to impress people, and that ultimately just drives people away from you, which is, if that really captured that aspect of childhood very well. The Wild Robot, again, just like a solid movie. It's, everyone cried in it because how could you not? There's just kind of those moments there. Very charming. Again, what can be said about it that hasn't already been said? It's just a solid, well-made movie. Next five, we have I Saw the TV Glow, which is a very fascinating watch. Definitely one that, I think reading about it is almost just as interesting as watching the movie. When you read about it after the fact, seeing kind of what all these representations what these things represent, and it does seem like the trans community in general has really latched on to this film and really appreciates what it is going for, which I think is cool. When Amelia Perez is getting all of the attention and people are criticizing that, saying it's not a great representation and all that stuff, it's cool to see that there is a movie out there that does give the representation that something like that needs. It's also just a good movie, right? Like, I just think that's such a fascinating story. If it had nothing to do with the trans experience, it's just an interesting kind of dilemma that the characters go through in that one. So yeah, that was cool. Gasoline Rainbow, a very low budget movie. This is one of those that I saw on Mubi and said, that seems interesting. I'll check it out, and really enjoyed it. Kind of I would say like a Richard Linklater-y film where it's just a few kids in a van who are kind of traveling for no real purpose, just seeing where they want to go. And it was really cool. Really enjoyed it. Juror Number 2, another one where just like it really did just come and go, but a really, I think, clever film. I love the plot of it, where it's a guy who is juror number 2. He gets put on the jury of a case that is to see if someone was a murderer. However, as the details unfold, he realizes that he was actually responsible for the death of the person who was murdered, and then it's the ethical dilemma of what do you do in that situation. Just really cool, well-made movie, well-written movie. I would say the ending didn't fully land for me, but I think I would have rather had things get wrapped up a little more, not to spoil too much, but still very much worth a watch. A really entertaining movie. Number 17, Sing Sing, which is another movie that, like, how does this not get nominated for Best Picture, right? It really came and went as well. It should have had more love. Some of these movies I have higher, but I'm like, I understand why you are not getting that kind of attention. Like, you're just not that kind of movie, including like Challengers one pick further. But like Sing Sing, it's that kind of movie. It was really good. I don't understand it, but check it out if you haven't already. It's very heartwarming. Challengers at 16 is one that, I mean, listen, it could have gotten some Oscar buzz. It got getting nominated for nothing was surprising. Definitely a really cool movie, though. I love the storytelling and how you learn more and more about the characters as it unfolds. There was, one day when I was, in this office with the football games going on. If any of you have discovered me through this channel and don't realize that I cover football for a living, I have a YouTube channel where I cover football for a living. And so I think in between games, I walked out to the kitchen and I just heard the score. My fiance was listening to it, and it's just like, you can just tell right away. And I'm like, I kind of want to go watch that. Like it's really good. Really much enjoyed it. Everything about it. The performances were great. The hyper editing, the hyper pop soundtrack, all of it. Big fan. Top 15 movies now. 15 through 11. Some really great movies. Hitman at 15. I'm just a big Richard Linklater fan. I feel like I like all of his movies more than the average person does. I feel like the movies that people think are great, I think are awesome. The movies that people think are awesome, I think are even better than awesome. And then movies that people think are okay, I think are really good. Hitman is definitely one where I was not expecting much. I didn't think it looked great. I still don't love the look of the movie, to be honest. But it sucks you in. And even early on, I'm like, I don't know if this is my thing. And by the end of it, I'm like, that was fantastic. Really good movie. Really enjoyed it. And once it's, Richard Linklater in general, I feel like he's done this a few times where he takes a plot and you're like, okay, I get it. I get why that's a movie, but it doesn't seem that crazy. And he just elevates it to where it just feels so much better than what it would have been under, a lesser director's hands. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. The Girl with the Needle. So we actually have 3 Oscar-nominated foreign films in a row. That I didn't do it that way. I didn't purposely do it that way. It just happened to go that way. Girl with the Needle is a dark movie. Know that going in. Definitely a dark movie, but a very good one. It's very, I think, well made. I think some David Lynch type vibes to it, also some Bella Tarr type vibes to it. And if you like dark stories, this is definitely one that you don't want to let pass by. The Seed of a Sacred Fig, another one that is very dark. While I will say that this one's a bit slower paced, and I wouldn't have. Again, it's weird because I'm like, part of me wants to be like, I wouldn't have minded a shorter cut of it, but I actually think I would have. I think I want every scene that was in here to stay in here. It's just a longer take. Might be the one, to be honest, to watch at home and then just, stop halfway through, because it is pretty heavy. It also does kind of feel like two movies, but I don't mean that in negative ways. I think it works. I think all that adds to the film. So, yeah, that one's really good. And then Flow, which is just fun. I mean, there's some really, I think, interesting stuff in this one as well, and the whole world is interesting. But come on, I mean, it's a silent movie where the animals act like animals, and it's really good and really creative. So yeah, that one's cool. And then Anora, which is one that, again, I mean, it's Anora. What else can we say about it at this point? Really fun, really funny movie. I'm a big Sean Baker fan, and even if the middle did drag a little bit for me, loved the ending and loved everything it was going for. Okay, now top 10. First, My First Film, which is a really clever movie. It is a movie where, so it is about a filmmaker telling the story of when they tried to make their first film. So that's why it's entitled My First Film. That movie was ultimately abandoned, and so this ends up being their first film, which is kind of an interesting name there, and even that could be a little bit of a spoiler, so sorry, but don't worry, this is not a movie you can spoil. It is a very unique film, and I would say 5 minutes into this film, you will know if it is something that's your thing or something you want no part of. So, watch the first 5 minutes and you can judge from there. One of the things I loved about this movie, though, is there's been a million movies about making movies, but one of the underrated aspects of making a movie is when it goes wrong and it doesn't work out, which is how it usually goes. I mean, again, I make YouTube videos for a living. I've, done a ton of creative things trying to find a field where I can make money being creative. And what you learn when you're doing that is that most of the time when you make something, it doesn't work out. Most creative endeavors end in failure. And I think this captures that in a really unique way. So that one, if you've ever worked in a creative field, if you've ever made something that's worked or that hasn't, I really recommend that one. It's not gonna be for everyone. It's definitely not gonna be for everyone, but I really enjoyed it. Kinds of Kindness, another one not for everyone, but I really enjoyed. I don't really get why this one kind of came and went, and people don't really talk about it. I thought it was great. I loved the performances in this. I thought that all the stories were really fascinating, and I liked each one individually. So yeah, I really liked Kinds of Kindness. If you kind of got turned off by the not great reviews, I don't know. If this feels like your kind of thing, don't let the reviews, I mean, and the reviews weren't horrible or anything, but don't let that fool you. I think it's still a really good movie. A Different Man is now at number 8 on this list. This is one where I was going to watch, I think I was like, okay, I have time to watch half a movie. I'll do that sometimes. I know some people are purists and they have to watch a movie, in one sitting. I am very much someone who always break it up and I'll watch, half of the movie one night and then finish it the next day. That's what I was going to do with A Different Man. And I ended up just staying late and finishing it because I was so hooked with the story. I found it to be such a clever movie, such a fascinating movie. I loved everything about this. I loved Sebastian Stan's performance. I loved Adam Pearson's performance. I loved the score. I loved how the story unfolded and the different twists and turns it took. I will say, the trailer gives away too much. This is definitely a movie that the trailer gives away a ton. I get it. They got to sell the movie, and it'd be hard to sell it if you don't give away a decent amount, but that it still does do that, so know that going in. But yeah, that one was really, really interesting. Memoir of a Snail, another one that I was like, okay, I'll check this out. It seems somewhat interesting, and I was kind of blown away. I think at one point I even considered is this my favorite movie of the year? Can't quite go that far, but yeah, I mean, definitely a dark movie, one that goes some very heavy places. But I would also say, for me personally at least, it never felt like it was being dark for the sake of being dark, and still had some moments of light in this. So yeah, that one is very, very fascinating. And if it's an animated movie, but it's an adult movie, just know that going in as well. The Beast, which is a challenging film, definitely one that's hard to stop thinking about. I made a video where I talked about kind of some underrated movies that you might not have seen, but you should check out. I talked about that one on this. Again, very interesting, where the plot is essentially off in the future, there is a robot that is trying to quote unquote fix humans by getting them to no longer be able to feel. And it goes in very unique places, including jumping hundreds of years back in time to tell certain different stories, and also telling stories from around present day. You can't describe this movie. You do have to watch it to fully understand it. Top 5. I thought about breaking these up, but I'll just put them on the screen. Whatever. Sorry for ruining the suspense. Number 5, Evil Does Not Exist, which is, again, this is a slow movie, and this is one where if you're not into slow cinema, just skip it. It's not going to be your thing. But while it does take a while to get to the point, again, I don't mind that. I think it was kind of peaceful, to be honest, which was the point. And then when it starts to get going, so you kind of see these people live their lives in this beautiful area, only to then have a glamping site come in, and they are trying to build a glamping area in this nice place in the wilderness. And in doing that, there could be some issues environmentally, and it actually goes in some really interesting places and doesn't go the way you typically would expect, which was surprising, but I really enjoyed that aspect of it. So yeah, it's by the director of Drive My Car. So if you've seen that movie, this one is different for sure, and also less of a time commitment, but still really good. Nickel Boys is at 4 here. Again, I think it's just such a uniquely made film with the interesting editing, the interesting decision to try to film this from the POV of the characters, which is very fascinating, and some of the ways that they decided to film stuff I thought was interesting, and I had a lot of fun thinking, like, how did they film this shot in particular? It's really good. But I almost feel like sometimes I don't talk enough about the actual plot and the story of this one, which is obviously a very harrowing thing that happened in our country, and we should talk about more. Something like this where it was essentially just boys getting murdered, which is not cool. So I'm anti boys getting murdered. Just throwing that out there. That's my take. But yeah, really really strong movie with Nickel Boys. Number 3, A Real Pain, which I'm disappointed this one did not get more love at the Oscars. Another one where I'm like, okay, listen, I get that Evil Does Not Exist is not going to be a player there. Real Pain could have been a player there. I don't know. These are very much my movies. Witty dialogue, a lot of subtext to deliver emotional moments. Interesting monologues. This kind of stuff. This Noah Baumbach style stuff, which. It's very interesting because I think Jesse Eisenberg delivers that type of dialogue very well. He was in a Noah Baumbach movie, The Squid and the Whale, which is my favorite Noah Baumbach movie. Also, The Social Network is, one where he's very well known for kind of delivering this style of dialogue, and it feels like he's learned a thing or two because this one really worked. And Kieran Culkin, who also feels kind of built for this type of movie. What a fun watch. It's number 3. It could have been number 1. I think at the time I watched it, it was number 1, but 2 movies replaced it. First, Nosferatu, which is just fun. It's just a fun movie. You know what? Sometimes movies can just be cool, and that's definitely what this is. It's a movie unlike anything I have ever seen. I think the one criticism you could make is that some of the dialogue scenes maybe went on a touch too long, but I think that's to me just because I still like those scenes. I just like the other stuff so much that's the only reason I wanted to get back to it. No, I thought it was very cool. And then number 1 is The Brutalist. I've talked about this a bit now. I don't need to keep going over it. But yeah, I really, really like this movie. This one feels like one I'm going to continue to watch year after year. It's just, for that opening shot alone, the opening sequence, I don't think it's actually the opening shot, but one of the first shots, the ship sequence where you see the Statue of Liberty upside down. I mean, come on. It doesn't get much better than that. So yeah, those are my top 40 movies of 2024, and there probably will be more added to it eventually, but it is what it is. I can only put so much on the list, but yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from ya, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.